Alright guys, welcome to Doozer shop. It might be out of frame, but no matter. Got the Brown & Sharp 13 grinder here. And if you remember, this is an old stock, unused tailstock that I got off eBay. And you might have seen my previous videos. I didn't get the machine with the tailstock, so I got this, and it's virtually unused. But the only problem is that it was 10 thousandths too low. So what I did is the base of this workhead, it's a swivel, and the base is separate. So I ground the base 10 thou. So now the centers line up perfect. Okay. One of the things that I have read, this guy named Jim Rosen in New York State, he's into small Harding lathes, and I think he's got a Elgin lathe or a Cataract or a Pratt & Whitney little lathe. And he swapped around tailstocks, and what he did is he made a new barrel for the tailstock, because I think he used an Elgin tailstock on a Cataract or a Harding lathe, and they didn't line up. So what he chose to do, and it was a single base like this, it wasn't offsettable, you couldn't shim it. Jim Rosen bored, he made a new quill for the tailstock, and he offset the bore to match what was in the headstock, okay? So, in the lathe, I believe what this gentleman, Jim, did is he put a drill bit and drilled the tailstock quill, and then a boring head, and he bored it out. And I don't know if he reamed it to get the final taper in there. But that has always stuck in my mind, and always... it crossed my mind as a solution when this was too low. But I really didn't want to make another quill, because this is hard chromed. Like I said, it's hardened. I think in the factory they hard chromed them. Maybe not. But my solution, it worked. So, a machine shop that I visit sometimes, they got a brand new cylindrical grinder, okay? I'm going to insert the picture. I can't do voiceovers with my editing software, so let me put in a picture real quick of this new grinder. Okay, so it's a Toyota grinder. Beautiful machine. I think it'll swing 10 or 12 inches, and there's 30 inches between centers. It's like a $250,000 machine, okay? As you can see, it's brand new, it's beautiful. One thing I want to talk about first, it's a little diversion, is the ways. The frosting on the ways. So let me insert a picture of a close-up of the bed. So this is just a ground bed. It's very smooth, it's ground. Let me insert a picture of the ways of this, or the bed rather, of this Toyota grinder. Okay, so you can see the wild, almost looks like a saber scraping, not quite half moons, but it was very much. So it's made in Japan, and it looks like a swashbuckler sword. Japanese sword? I don't know. But one thing that I've thought, and I guess I've heard other people share this opinion, is that the the frosting or the flaking on exposed waste surfaces such as that attract grit and dirt. And why would you do that? I think it's just for looks. They say it's for oil retention, but it'll retain oil and it'll retain dirt. So if you've got a tailstock, scrape the underneath of that tailstock and let it slide, right? This is not set, so let it slide and let the scraping be hidden under the moving part so that no chips can sit on it, no dust can sit on it. It's up underneath. So beautiful scraping, but I think detrimental to the machine. Now, I remember there's a popular YouTuber. He's got a popular website that hosts manuals and stuff, and he restored a planer. So he got it, took it apart, and he sent it to Cash Masters for grinding. And when he got it back, he not only scraped the underside of the table where it rides on the V and flat way, or maybe it was double V, I don't remember. I think it was double V way. But he scraped the V ways. And he talked about his decision, whether to scrape them or not. And he said, well, I don't want to do half a job, and I wanted to have really good oiling retention, so I scraped the bottom. Well, that's an opinion, and that's his way of doing it. That's great. But just like a Bridgeport on the saddle that rides on the knee is scraped, and it holds all the dirt and the junk, or flaked, or whatever you want to call it, or frosted. It holds all the junk on a Bridgeport. You can just see the scraping. Now, I've seen other import copies of Bridgeports. Millport comes to mind. I think Chevalier or Chevalier comes to mind. Acer comes to mind. And they're ground. The knee is ground, and the underside of the saddle, I'm sure, is either turkite or it's got frosting for oil retention. So anyways, that's that. I just questioned on a brand new grinder. I think it was more vanity for scraping than make it look cool more than a functional thing, because it's going to hold grit. I don't know why people have done that for like 100 years. Leave some comments and tell me what you think. Okay. Let me insert another picture looking at the end of the tailstock. So you'll see the taper. I think that's either I think it's a number 4 Morse taper. It's pretty big. Might be a 3, but it looks like a 4. If you look close, might have to pause and rewind. It's not centered in the quill, in the barrel of the tailstock. It looks to be offset 1/16, or maybe it's a millimeter, 40 thousandths. Going back to that idea, I think it was that Jim Rosen had for having an offset taper in the quill or the barrel of his tailstock. So why does this Toyota grinder have that? Well, the quill, or the barrel, I guess, whatever you want to call it, that rotates. And it rotates, and I guess the intention is to have the taper rise up or down for a height adjustment, a fine-tuning of the height adjustment. So talking about this in the scenario I went through, this Toyota grinder has this offset taper in the tailstock quill, and it rotates up and down. So let me put in a picture of the dial. So you see that dial, And the graduations were, what, 6 decimals, 8? I think that's a little bit finer than 1/10 of 1,000th. That can go up and down. So that's pretty fine for height adjustment. So, and the way it works is it's got a worm gear on that adjustment knob. Let me insert that picture real quick for you. And you can see the worm gears on the back of the tailstock, okay? So I just thought that was really cool that this Toyota grinder has that feature, an eccentrically adjustable tailstock spindle, or barrel, or whatever you call it. You know, this one's just, lock it, this one's just in and out. But that Toyota one, like I said, it rotates and it goes, you know, it makes the center rise and fall up and down. We still have on the Toyota grinder the table swivels, of course, in the center for creating a taper or taking the taper out. But I just thought it was cool that this brand new high-end Toyota grinder had an eccentrically adjustable center height on the tailstock barrel or spindle or quill or whatever you call it. I always mention different names because I'm never sure what people call these things. So anyhow, that was my list of pictures to talk about. I hope you guys found it interesting and leave some comments. I mean, I don't know if you would ever use this a lot other than setup, very initial setup, because it'll go up and down, but it also goes side to side, right? So you're fixing or adjusting the height, but you're also throwing off the alignment very slightly side to side. Probably wouldn't matter because you're either between centers or you're chucking work without a tailstock. So you're either chucking with a chuck or a collet or maybe a magnet, you know, round magnet. So, or you got a tailstock between centers. So even though you're changing the height, the front to back, I mean, you're adjusting the front to back. Well, let's think about this. Yeah, you could compensate for that with the table. But let me know your thoughts. I just thought it was interesting. I'm not going to let this video go too long. I just wanted to show you those pictures, and my photo software is not great, but it was interesting. I was going through the same matching the height issue with the tailstock and the work head on this grinder, and this new grinder that this shop that I visit had purchased, this Toyota grinder, has this built-in innovation for that. So being an engineer and a machine enthusiast, I thought that was cool. Wanted to share it with you guys just to show you what's out there. And like I say, this Toyota grinder is so cool. But anyways, I just want to share that. Until next time, this is Doozer Shop.